Every time I get a new flagship phone, I ask myself, can this phone replace my camera for making YouTube videos? The Xiaomi 15 Ultra has a 1-inch camera sensor and a large telephoto one. That puts the phone in a similar category as a compact camera like the Sony ZV-1 Mark II, which I am shooting this episode with. That begs the question, how close is the phone to a pro camera? And today I will test the Xiaomi head-to-head with a Sony Cinema camera. All I want is a perfect phone. All I want is a perfect phone. So this is the setting that we are going for today. We have the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. I also put the photography kit on it. There's also a Nisi ND filter with the 67mm thread. And here I have the FX30 with the Sony 16 to 50mm. I also put the cage. I will put the camera on top of that, and let's the test begin. Starting with the main lens, as I mentioned, the Xiaomi 15 Ultra has a 1-inch sensor, and for a long time, a 1-inch sensor has been deemed the minimum size for a sensor to be taken seriously for photography and videography. Any photo you take between 1x and 3x zoom on Xiaomi will use that lens. The lens is a 23mm full-frame equivalent, and the first thing that is noticeable is that the Xiaomi picture is a bit overexposed. This is something I observed during the week I had the phone. The phone just tends to make the scene brighter than it is. That's why here I decreased the brightness before taking the second shot, which resulted in a detailed and nice looking image from both the camera and the phone. I wouldn't say either of them is necessarily better than the other. For video, I made sure to shoot in log with both devices to color grade them so that the colors from the phone and camera are close to each other. I can see that both are doing a great job here. I do notice that the video from the Sony camera is optically more pleasing, but the Xiaomi is keeping up. For the video with the main lens on the Sony camera, I set the aperture to f4 and the footage looks good. It's a bit shaky, which is normal for a camera since it's harder to stabilize a larger sensor. The stabilization is better on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, but the quality takes a hit. But generally speaking, as long as you're shooting in daylight and you don't plan to create shallow depths or look for that juicy bokeh, using the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is not going to put you as a huge disadvantage compared to a dedicated camera with a crop sensor. If you're watching this video on a larger TV, you may start to see the difference in this footage, for example, but on a computer it is barely noticeable. The Xiaomi 15 Ultra has two telephoto lenses, a 70mm and a 100mm. And I have a hot take here. Both Xiaomi and Samsung should stop putting the smaller 3x telephoto lens on their phones and only include one high quality one. I'm not saying the 70mm lens cannot take great pictures with a decent amount of bokeh, as you can see in this picture. That said, if you first look at the video taken by the Sony camera, you can see that the quality is great. Switching to the Xiaomi 15 Ultra with the 3x telephoto lens, the quality takes a hit. I personally avoid taking videos and pictures between 3x and 4.3x zoom with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra since the quality I'm looking for just isn't there. I have the same problem on my Galaxy S25 Ultra and prefer to jump straight to 5x zoom when I want to take a picture to avoid compromising quality. When we switch to the second telephoto lens, the 100mm one with a 200 megapixel resolution, things change for the better. So the 100mm 4.3 telephoto lens on this phone also has a really large sensor. That said, it is of course not as large as the ASP-C camera, and also the bokeh is not gonna be as strong. So let's take a look. You can of course still see the natural bokeh is better on a camera. Here, I took this picture with f2.8 on the Sony and 100mm telephoto lens. Let's also not forget that the camera and two lenses I bought cost over 5,000 euros. For this portrait shot, the skin tone on the Xiaomi has a slight orange tint, but more importantly, the picture is again a bit too exposed for my taste. The camera even had to increase the ISO to 800 since I was taking this shot in a dark shadow. One important reason telephoto lenses matter is that they capture facial proportions much better than the main lens. In video as well, the Xiaomi tends to overexpose, and by now you'll probably notice that I personally prefer darker videos since highlights and shadows are preserved better. In general, mood and emotions can be conveyed more deeply. That said, the whole image processing and computational photography topic is rather subjective. For example, you might like the photo on the Xiaomi more, and you may even get more likes on social media since it's brighter image. In general, when we make these kind of comparisons, we should keep in mind that the engineers behind these devices prioritize posting pictures on social media rather than necessarily retaining details in an image for post-processing. Also, to be fair to Xiaomi, As I mentioned, you can simply put an ND filter on it and then use Pro mode to shoot with lower exposure. As you can see, I did exactly that in this picture, and the lighting on the Xiaomi and Sony cameras is very similar. The only noticeable difference is that the white balance between the two is different. But if you're someone who doesn't like fiddling with settings and exposure, it is good to know how the image will look straight out of the Xiaomi camera without any processing or manually adjusting the exposure levels. I should also note that the optical quality is not the only reason to pick a camera over a phone. A camera has physical buttons that let you quickly change settings such as shutter speed. To Xiaomi's defense, the photographic kit is awesome and there's a dial that I can use to set the exposure and shutter speed precisely. There are also many things that are difficult to demonstrate when explaining why a dedicated camera is important. One of them is focus hunting. For example, here the camera is on autofocus and it keeps focusing on the flowers. Switching to the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, the moment the lady passes by the flowers, the phone tries to focus on her and then switches back to the flowers. This is very common among all phones, and I have never used a phone that doesn't have this issue. At the beginning of the video, I asked myself a very important question. Can the Xiaomi 15 Ultra replace my camera for making YouTube videos? I would say the answer is still a maybe. Among phones, Xiaomi probably has one of the best, if not the best, optical quality available right now. That said, computational photography can only take you so far. We are still not replacing physics with it, even though we are getting damn close. If you enjoyed this video, you can see more samples from Xiaomi 15 Ultra in the Xiaomi 15 Ultra versus Galaxy S25 Ultra comparison next. Thanks for tuning in to Tecmo, and I will see you in the next one.